I have to ask you, Mr. Hendricks, what went wrong? The man in question, says the journalist. At Robert Hendricks's velvet-lined drawing room, 11:22 p.m. The air is heavy, the mood funereal. A cup of untouched scotch rests on a glass table. Robert Hendricks, billionaire, philanthropist, former mentor to the man now lying 6 feet under. Hendricks' eyes are hollow. His tie is loose. He's not used to looking undone. What went wrong? He echoes the words like he's chewing glass. Then silence. A long, deep silence. And then, Elijah Noma was the most promising voice we had in this generation. Mr. Hendricks finally says, and now he's dead on a university stage. Assassinated. During a Q&A, in front of students. Flashback. At the university, students clapping. A young man in a gray suit smiles as he steps to the mic. This is Elijah Noma, just 30 minutes before he'll be shot. He's calm, composed, speaking about his new book, New America, The Audacity to Reform. He's not talking martyrdom. He's not calling for revolution. He's not spewing conspiracy. Number, he's preaching policy peace. And yet, a few minutes later, 3 gunshots cut through the auditorium and Elijah drops to the floor, dead. Why him? That's the question haunting the media, the nation, but most of all, the people who knew him. Hendricks adjusts his tie again. His throat tightens. This wasn't random, he says. Who was Elijah Noma? Former youth counselor, best-selling author at 26, the youngest congressional nominee in his state's history, a quiet, sharp mind who wrote essays that shook America to its core, the kind of guy who quoted Baldwin and MLK and never once raised his voice to be heard. He didn't need to. His words forced silence because they held the truth. Flashback. At the university, a moment from the Q&A, Elijah facing a hostile student, but still smiling, still calm. We can build a better nation, Elijah says into the mic, not with rage, but with reason he never got to finish. The murder, what we know. Time of attack, 7:13 p.m. Location, Brookcrest University Auditorium. Attacker, unknown male, instantly fled through a side emergency exit. Weapon, modified Glock with a silencer. Security had been light. It was a student-led event. They said he insisted on openness. No metal detectors, no stage guards. Mobile police patrol had just left 9 minutes prior to the shooting. Almost like someone knew their window, almost like it was planned. My foundation supported his run from the start, Hendricks says. I warned him. Not everyone supports change. Some profit from the problems he wanted to solve. Multiple warnings were sent to his campaign inbox. Some subtle, some not. Tone it down. You're waking up the wrong kind of people. You're drawing too much light into the dark. He never reported them. He said he refused to govern by fear. And then came a twist nobody saw coming. 2 days after the assassination, police found a burner phone in a trash can across campus. It had one voicemail, 9 seconds long. A robotic voice. Target confirmed. Silenced. Initiating cover drop. Ping location. Same hall Elijah's assistant was waiting in outside the auditorium. That assistant disappeared shortly after the shooting. Last known footage shows him boarding a Greyhound bus in eastern Alabama. Police say it's unrelated. But how can that be unrelated? Hendricks leans in, his voice low now. You have to understand, with Elijah, it was never about politics. It was about impact. Ideas, vision. He was gaining ground not just in polls, but in hearts, in minds. People were listening, too many people. 1 week before his death, Elijah posted a cryptic tweet. When you bring a candle into a dungeon, you don't just scare the rats. You expose the kings in hiding, too. None of us thought it was a warning until now. His killer didn't shoot and declare a manifesto, didn't post a video, didn't claim glory, no identity, no capture, no motive, just silence, and a growing shadow behind one of the most peaceful voices in American politics. What went wrong? I asked again, one last time. Billionaire Robert Hendricks looked out the window like the answer was lost in the leaves. Then he said, his voice flat, but eyes raging, he believes in dialogue, open debate. He's a man of ideas. He spoke adequately, but he could never raise his voice or shout to make a point. He's a man of peace, and now he's been murdered in cold blood. He was because his words made the difference, because he was showing people the light, and the dark murdered him. Hendricks, quietly, he was showing people the light, beat, and the dark murdered him. Long pause. Across the room, a tablet buzzes faintly on the coffee table. A name appears on the screen. Dr. Leona Graves. Hendricks doesn't move to answer. He knows what she wants. Same thing every caller has wanted for the last 48 hours. The same thing he can't. Give them double asterisk asterisk. Justice. Instead, he stares at the untouched scotch. Then he looks at the journalist. Hendricks, you want a quote for your article? Write this down. This country's real kings don't wear crowns or campaign pins. They wear anonymity. They own silence. And right now, they're celebrating. Hendrick had a flashback. 1 month before the assassination. At a private conference room, Atlanta Day. Elijah is in the center seat of a table surrounded by donors in tailored suits. His hands are folded, calm, candid. Hendricks sits across from him watching the reactions. A senior congressman leans forward. Congressman, you're too bold, Noma. You talk like there's still a clean America hidden under all this mess. The ruling class doesn't mind a fighter, but they hate a poet with a following. Elijah just nods. Elijah, I'm not looking for permission. He stands. Elijah, he continued, if you think diplomacy is weakness, then you've never seen what sustained listening can do to power. We're not building coalitions, we're building courage. He walks out. Hendricks closes his eyes. Return to present, drawing room, night. The journalist adjusted his recorder. Say to himself, something in Hendricks is cracking. He's a fortress of an old man, but something behind the eyes is softening. Guilt, maybe. Journalist. You think it was one of them? The donors? The party? Corporations with something to lose? Hendricks. I think Elijah wasn't just challenging a structure. He was exposing its rot, and that made him disposable. He paid a beat, then continued. 10 days before Elijah died, he told me he received a call from someone at a federal agency. No name, just static. They said, blind spots don't stay blind forever. Watch your six. I raise an eyebrow. Journalist. Did he say which agency? Hendricks. No, he wouldn't. Said he didn't want me afraid for him. He chuckles bitterly. I was afraid for all of us. The missing assistant. At a gas station. Security footage. Night. Footage view. A blurry figure in a windbreaker, baseball cap, and backpack buys a bus ticket in cash. It's Darren K.N., Elijah's assistant. 25. Responsible. Loyal. Gone. He glances behind him, nervous, clutching something close to his chest, a small orange flash drive. The flash drive has 3 faded letters, ENV background. Vector Files atop a police evidence board is a red folder marked Operation Vector. It's been unsealed. Inside, internal emails, campaign staff schedules, transcripts of Elijah's calls, a flagged quote from his private journal. True power doesn't fear gunfire. It fears unfiltered thought in a room full of silence. Who got access to this? Who leaked it? Hendricks claims Elijah kept no enemies close, but someone got close enough to know when to strike. Dr. Leona Graves, Elijah's political director, studio office, news broadcast. Next day, Dr. Graves appears on a live program, poised, angry, controlled, anchor. Dr. Graves, you've worked with Elijah Noma since his policy days. Some say he had no known enemies. So how do you explain this assassination? Graves, grimly. He did have enemies. But Elijah wasn't afraid of bullets. He was afraid of letting the wrong people shape America's future through silence. Whoever shot him didn't just kill a man, they lobotomized hope. Encore. You believe it was political? Graves. Oh no, it was cultural, historical, systemic. Political murders have motives. This felt like self-preservation by a system that saw him coming and panicked. Back at Hendricks' estate, his butler, Malcolm, knocks softly. He holds a phone, Elisha's personal, retrieved from the family estate. Encrypted. But there's a message open, time-stamped 3 hours before the assassination. It reads, greater than, you're not just waking people up, you're waking up wolves. Watch the exits. Another voice joins in the room, a young woman in her 20s, hoodie tucked tightly, urgency in her eyes. Sarah Cayenne, Darren's younger sister. Sarah, I found something on his iCloud before they shut it all down. My brother has receipts. Journalist. Receipts? Sarah. Contact logs. A burner number that called him right before he went missing. Guess who it dialed before that? She places a printed call log on the table. Hendricks' number is circled. Hendricks doesn't flinch. Hendricks. I didn't call him to warn him. I called to ask what the hell was going on. He sounded terrified and guilty. Journalist. Guilty of what? Hendricks. I don't know, but he said one thing that won't leave my head. Flashback to call. Audio effect. Darren. Voice breaking. They said it wasn't about killing him. It was about unplugging him from the feed. Hendricks on. Tape. What feed? Darren. The mental kind. The one people started signing into after Elijah figured out how to speak straight to their conscience. Journalist. What if Elijah's assassination was never just about one speech? Or the book? What if it was about where public consciousness was headed? He tapped something primordial. Honesty without anger. Vision without division. And the establishment had no countermove for that. Who profited? We pan across a newsroom map. Red string linking campaign donations, energy lobbyists, and AI-driven misinformation campaigns. All intersecting around Elijah's rise, every donor pulling funding 2 months before his death, every network deprioritizing his appearances, every analytics firm targeting his online followers with misinformation. One name flashes again and again, Delcor Strategies, LLC, a consulting firm used by both parties, practically invisible. Their tagline? Strategic silence, long-term stability. Hendricks' study, 2 a.m. The fire's low. The glass of scotch finally emptied. Hendricks stands at Elijah's portrait. Not a photo, a painting. done posthumously by a student at Brookcrest who witnessed the shooting. Elijah's eyes gaze forward, peaceful, unjudging. On the wall beside it, his final handwritten journal page, read, "Greater than don't mourn my death. Mourn your silence if you watched and said nothing." Hendricks, softly. They feared his rise, yes, but not out of hate, out of recognition. They saw themselves in him. They knew which parts of him were untouchable, and they knew that if he could wake America, maybe he could wake them too. And that made him dangerous. Some wars are declared, others are denied. Elijah Noma was killed in a time of peace, but it was always war. And the ones who wanted him silenced are still out there. Because in the end, it's not just about who pulled the trigger, it's about who gave the silence permission